Hi, Mubi. I'm Lee Pace. I play Roy Walker and the Masked Bandit in The Fall, directed by Tarsem, now streaming on Mubi. Well, before I read the script of The Fall, I had this meeting with Tarsem, who is insane, and he came into this conference room with a cigar box full of these mnemonics that he had been carrying around for about 13 years. A little toy monkey, I remember, photographs, just little things that reminded him of the story. And as he'd been shooting, he carried this box around and was formulating this movie in his head. And we got into this room, and for 2 hours he was showing me these things and describing what he wanted to do. We're going to shoot in South Africa. You're going to be in a wheelchair. You're going to be in a wheelchair. I just found this amazing girl in Romania named Katinka. She's Alexandria, and since I found her, I'm going to make this movie right now. You'll be in a wheelchair. Everyone's going to think you're this character, and then we're going to shoot the fantasy in India. I mean, it was the most insane meeting I've ever had in my career. And of course, I was like, yes, yeah, absolutely. I want to do it. Well, I play Roy Walker, who, the reality of the film takes place in the 20s, in Los Angeles, at the very beginning of the movie business. And a lot of those movies were basically stunts. People would, kind of create a very flimsy story about someone being tied to a railroad track so that they could film, some, dangerous moment. And a lot of people got hurt. A lot of people, it was not the safest thing to do. And Roy, is a guy who showed up in Hollywood thinking he would be an actor, and someone talked him into riding a horse off a bridge. He does, and he becomes paralyzed. So he's a young man who's is kind of looking at the life ahead of him and doesn't really see what he had expected. And this little girl named Alexandra wanders into his hospital room, and they start talking, and he starts telling her a story. And that's where the movie becomes really interesting.
Will you tell me the story now?
What story?
The epic.
I remember my first fitting with Eiko, and she kind of showed me the great big chaps and the army, kind of sleeveless army vest and the blue kimono and the kind of wide brim hat, and I was like, cool. Like, this is the kind of movie I want to be a part of, because it was just so like, it was original. It was singular in its way. And then she patted my tummy and said, you need to lose that. So I had my work cut out for me.
I will destroy him! I will destroy him! Destroy him! Destroy him!
Reflecting back, I've worked for, about 20 years since, and with a lot of different actors, and the experience I had working with Katinka, it's the hardest thing and the easiest thing in the world to do, to just relax and believe your character and believe the story. And with Katinka, who had nothing standing in the way of believing that story, she brought me right with her. And I remember towards the end of the shoot, where I was like, Katinka, we're acting. We're actors, and this is what actors do. We play in a serious way. You're playing Alexandria, and you have a responsibility for that character. You looking at Roy. Roy is in pain. What do you want to do? And she was like, I want him to be better. And I was like, what are you going to do to make him better? And it was a long conversation we had, and they were very long takes, because I would tell the whole story, and and we would try to get the reality of it. And I looked at her after the take, and I was like, good job. And she looked at me back, and she had this pride on her eyes, because she knew what she had done. she knew that it wasn't just an empty compliment. She knew that she had accomplished what we were talking about. It was incredible. I mean, I've never had a scene partner like her. Here's an actor I find like incredibly inspiring right now, Franz Rogowski. I find him so enigmatic. I could just watch the scenes he does again and again and again, because the psychology behind his eyes, the freedom he feels in front of the camera when he's like moving and dancing. I mean, I find him absolutely hypnotic. And I found his films on Mubi. One of the reasons we signed up and subscribed to it, because to see Passages and then to see, you know, some of his other filmography. I mean, I find him phenomenal. I love all the things we shot in India, but particularly I mean, listen, there's a lot of deserts in the world, and we had a lot of desert locations, but Tarsem chose to take us all the way Himalayas to this place called Leh in Ladakh. And it was not easy to get a whole crew of people up there. He tried to bring an elephant up there, but couldn't get it up to that altitude. Horses we brought up, and we were shooting in these vast high altitude mountain deserts where the sky was like a blue that I've never seen a sky be before. And we were shooting all of these absolutely surreal scenes. You know, the red carriage traveling, you know, through that vast desert. A funny story, we spent like about 3 days setting up this shot where there was a close-up of the priest's face, and then there, you know, he places, you know, the actors and the characters along the side of this, you know, valley that matches that shot, so that he could transition between the priest's face and this in the fantasy. And it was a very complicated crane move that kind of brought us out of that, and they spent, you know, I would say a couple days trying to create that. And we were just getting ready to shoot, and there was this Bhangra music blaring through this valley. Now, there was no one for miles and miles around. So kind of PAs went in every direction trying to figure out where it was from. And they found this wedding that was happening, and they were like, "Can you please stop the music? We're shooting a film." And they were like, "We're having a wedding. We're not turning down the music." And I think we got a couple takes where they were, you know, they had managed to, I don't know what happened, but they paid him off, and we got some takes. But it's like things like that would happen every single day on this shoot. Absolutely, I would say. It's the, you know, when I've done press for other things, it's the movie that people just say, "Hey, you know, interview's over, but I just want to say this is, you know, Fall is one of my favorite movies." Every director I've worked with has said, "How did he do it? Like, how did he do it? How did he make this film?" I mean, they know how hard it is to make a film, and you know, they'd seen it, and they wanted to know how he accomplished this. So I always, you know, when someone does mention that they like it, I feel like I've met a kindred spirit. You know, I feel like I've met someone that is one of my people.
You tell me the story now.
Close your eyes.